A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is the 13th April 2020. Day is Monday. I'm sure you all have enjoyed your weekend. Dear friends, I would like to start today's discussion with a very small story. But the main purpose of this small story is to give you a food for thought. I want you guys to think about it. Now, this story is from a book by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie tells us how he lost his finger when he was a small kid. When he was playing, he lost his finger. So he lived a life with one hand having three fingers and one thumb. Then later on, he met a person who was not having a wrist on his left hand. So Dale Carnegie inquired. He asked this person like how his life was. The person said that his life is quite normal. He hardly thinks about this left hand or left palm. The only time he faces a little bit of difficulty is when he's trying to thread a needle. And that's it, right? Apart from that, he's living a very normal life. And from this two stories, from Dale Carnegie as well as from this story of this unknown man without a palm on his left hand wrist, or without a palm on his left hand, we can say that it is quite astonishing how quickly we can accept almost any situation if we have to, and adjust ourselves to and forget about it, isn't it? And this is important understanding because many a times we worry about some inevitable things, like what will happen if my relationship will not work out, what will happen if I will not crack this particular exam this year. But the thing is, when we are struck by inevitable things like coronavirus, for example, the way things are going on, the way lockdowns and other things are going on, then we have this ability to overcome it, right? And once we have this understanding, right, I think our worries and our imagination or the fears that are created by our imagination, they fade away. So think about it. This is a food for thought for you guys. Now, we have some interesting articles on our table. The first one is Trade in Tatters. This one is about global trade. Then we have a ceasefire. This one is about India and Pakistan. Wanted a collective national endeavor. In this article, we find 9 to 10 solutions that are suggested by the writer, what we should do about this coronavirus and the way to deal with it as a country, as a world. Disingenuous and no antidote. This one is about fake news. And the last one is about global order, COVID-19 and the crumbling global world order. I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses, which are designed by best faculties of our country. As you can see on your screen, we have covered various different competitive exams, UPSC optional teaching exams, defense, UGC NET, etc. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. If you have any queries, doubts regarding it, you can give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you learned something from today's discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So let's talk about trade in tatters. World Trade Organization came out with its outlook last week, and as per this outlook, merchandise trade, merchandise basically means your products, your goods. So merchandise trade is going to plummet, or it's going to be down by 13 to 32% in 2020. This means, I'm sure you'd be aware about this thing, but if not, then let me tell you, manufacturing sector is capable of providing huge amount of jobs, right? Good jobs. And if manufacturing is down or manufacturing activities are down around the world, that means job losses. That means economical pain. That means rise in NPA. That means a rise in social disorder and so many other things. So this figure may not look that big, but behind the curtain there are so many things, right? So you have to read between the lines here. 13 to 32% in 2020 as per WTO is a big thing. Economists at the WTO are also saying this thing that, and before I tell you about this economists at the WTO, I'm sure you to be aware about this thing that on regular basis I bring out daily financial news analysis. So I go through financial, business, economical world newspapers and news items and articles and so many things. So far what I have learned is that so far after this coronavirus outbreak and lockdowns, I have came across so many opinions and they all are same. All various different agencies and people and experts, they are saying this thing that the world is going to face a crisis that is going to be more than it's going to be far worse than 2008 financial crisis. So things are going to be very bad after this lockdowns are over. IMF Managing Director, and I have a first question for you. Can you give me the name of IMF's Managing Director? Now, IMF said that global economy is set to contract sharply in 2020. Both WTO and IMF have said that current downturn is unique in itself. It's going to be more deep. It's going to be more negative. As far as services are concerned, India has a very strong grip, I would say, or an upper hand when it comes to services. We are good in services compared to manufacturing. Back in 2019, 3.5% of global services was catered by India. That amounts to $214 billion. So India has a higher global share as an exporter of services, and we are going to get, our services is going to get affected as well because of this transport curbs and travel curbs and other things. There is one thing in which India has a sort of, you can say, a strong expertise, and that is information technology services, isn't it? We know it very well that India is quite famous for IT services, and the demand of internet as well as IT services is going up because more people are working from home, so they need that softwares and applications and other things. Then people are ordering more essential items, drugs or medicines and other things online. We are socializing as well nowadays online, right? Zoom and WhatsApp and other things. I'm sure this is a very common thing in each and every family and friend circle. So as you can see, right, there is a you can say demand has skyrocketed of this IT technology services. So this is something that is positive for our country. It's going to bring more business. In fact, it is bringing more business for our IT services. WTO chief, and this is your second question, right? Give me the name of WTO chief as well in the comment section right now if you know, or if you are going through it as a premier, then stick your answer in the chat box. So WTO chief has said the same thing, that a rebound in global economic activity will require trade to flow freely across the borders. I think we are going to see more protectionist ideology. More walls will be created. When I say walls, I'm talking about barriers, tariff as well as non-tariff barriers will be created. More Swadeshi, or I would say more, this sort of ideology will get strong promotion that you need to use your own products. You need to use products that are produced in your country. And this is not just about India or USA. This is something that we'll see all across the board. So the only solution is that the world should promote globalization, right? If we create islands, when I say islands, I mean to say that if we are fortifying ourselves, creating these forts around, walls around us, our businesses, then this is not going to help the global economy. And we have one article, this one. Let me show you which one. This one, COVID-19 and the Crumbling World Order. We are going to talk about this point, this protectionism or rise in hyper-nationalism when we reach there. So let's move on to next item. This one is about a ceasefire and a ceasefire violation that has gone up between India and Pakistan. Now, dear friends, the whole world is at present, engaged in dealing with this coronavirus. But we have a very strange neighbor called Pakistan. Pakistan is using this coronavirus incident to inject more infiltrators in our country. It is, violating. It is trying to keep our army as well as our country busy with this sort of activities. Now, we share two types of boundaries with Pakistan. One is international border. So, for example, here, right? So this is an international border. There is no issue with international border because both Pakistan and India are on same page when it comes to international border. But when it comes to line of control or lines of control, LOC, right, we are saying that our portion is this much, and they are saying that their portion, this portion is belongs to them. So this is what LOC is all about. And the reason why I'm highlighting this thing is, first thing, technical clarity. Second thing is, you should know exactly where actions are going on at present. Now, both countries have not been able to uphold a ceasefire along the border areas and the line of control. So we have both these items covered here. That's why I have added this picture for you guys. Now you can explore this map a bit more. You can spend 10-15 minutes extra after downloading the PDF of today's lecture. Now, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh claimed just 2 months ago that he said that violations of ceasefire are taken up with Pakistan, and we are dealing with it at an appropriate level by hosting this flag meetings and DGMO discussions and other things. If we go through the figures, back in 2019, there were 3,479 violations in February. So if you break it down, it is like 10 violations every month. And this has gone up, particularly after Article 370. On an average, we are seeing 10 to 11 violations per day. So analysts and experts are saying this thing that after abolition of Article 370, ceasefire violation has gone up. Now, Indian Army has said this thing, and this is right as well, that Pakistan is, pushing the envelope. It is exploiting this whole coronavirus situation by facilitating infiltrators into our country. Just last week, there was this big news that our 5 para-commandos, they sacrificed their lives in protecting our country. They encountered these 5 infiltrators. There was a sort of hand-to-hand combat. And the good thing is, our commandos, they neutralized these 5 infiltrators. But sadly, unfortunately, our para-commandos as well, they succumbed to these injuries. So first of all, hats off to them. A big salute, and my prayers for their family members, and I'm sure the government as well as people of our country, they are going to be there, and they are there for the support of this family members of this para-commandos. Now, what we can do, I think Israel is a country that believes in this mantra that attack is the best defense. Attack is the best defense means, if you know that something wrong is going to take place, if you have some launch pads via which people will try to infiltrate your country, then the best thing is, don't wait for them at your borders. Go there and hit them, destroy them and neutralize them. And this is something that we should do as well. We should go ahead with more surgical preventive actions. We can deploy more technology, drones and other things so that we can avoid this sort of situations. Moving on to third item, wanted a collective national endeavor. Now, this article is providing us few solutions about the things that are going on at present. It starts with this third or fourth line in this article. You will find is, the central government claims that if we had not locked down, we would have 8 lakh infections by 15th April. Not the 8,000 plus at present. To be precise, we are 9,000 plus as far as Monday morning is concerned, right? The latest figure is 9,000 plus. Now, the thing is, if we are not here, 8 lakh, of course, but just imagine 8 lakh infection by 15th April. That means we would be the most affected nation in the world, and I'm not surprised, because our dense population, lack of medical facilities and other things. Though government is saying that we are well prepared now, right? Things are, because of this lockdown, we have got this time. And I think I told you this thing when we were discussing this lockdown. I'm talking about the starting phase of this lockdown. I told you that the reason why lockdown is important is because it gives us time. We can purchase time with lockdown. And that's what we have done. We have to utilize this time, and I think we have done it. We have, made ourselves a bit more capable when it comes to medical facilities and other things. People are more aware about it as well now. So this article is saying that what we need now is we need an equal partnership between center and states, right? They should not be like top bottom or top down. It should be, they should work like equal partners. We need all various different political parties. They should come together and they should fight with this common enemy called coronavirus. In this article, the writer is saying decentralization of decision making. I would say that rather than decentralization of decision making, this is my personal opinion, I think there should be decentralization of action taking. Decision, you need to have, this sort of situation, in like war-like situation, decision should come, or command should come from top to bottom. But actions, you can provide this sort of freedom, a little bit of freedom, where you can customize your action, right? So this is something that we can think about. And then Jan B and Jahan B, that means we need to save life as well as economy, both in early stages. Of course, life was the most important thing, and of course today as well. But now we have gone through those vibrations of lockdown. Now we can focus more on economy. We need to be a bit more generous when it comes to supporting our poor people. This article is also talking about a positive action taken by Chief Minister of Kerala, how he every day, regularly, he provides these briefings about the action taken by his government, and this is boosting the confidence of people of Kerala. Control social tensions after this Tablighi Jamaat incident. We have seen a sort of social tension is also going on online and offline as well. Of course, people are not coming out and there are no riot-like situation, but we don't want to create more fissures, right? We don't want to see more cracks in our society. So it is important that we control the social tensions as well. Economy cannot be operated with an on-off, off-on switch. We cannot afford more lockdowns, right? Once we are out of this lockdown, then we want to stay freely like we used to be. So for that, we need to prepare ourselves, and when I say prepare, I mean to say we need to have one medicine for this coronavirus, isn't it? And for future as well, we have to prepare ourselves for this sort of situation. And the last yet the most important thing is, at the end of this whole coronavirus thing, right? One thing that should come out as a victor is humanity, right? Humanity should win, and this is important for our future battles. Moving on. Disingenuous and no antidote. This one is about fake news. Now, fake news is a menace, of course, not just because it is usually motivated by an intent to deceive and misinform people. But the most dangerous thing about fake news is that it urges people, it nudges people to act on that information. This makes fake news a bit more severe and a bit more dangerous. An opinion that you disagree with cannot be branded as fake news because it is just that opinion. See, information or knowledge, there is a difference. News as well as analysis, there is a difference. News is information. So if you are providing wrong information, then you can call it, or you are providing wrong information not because of an error, but there is a purpose behind it. There is a sort of agenda, then that is a fake news. But opinion is going to be different. If I read an article and you read an article, then our opinion are going to be a bit different. And this is the beauty of analysis, right? But it's not going to be that different. Basically, you find three generic, you can say, segments of an opinion. One is positive about something. You either are negative or you are neutral about something. These are generic things I'm saying, right? Generally speaking. This is just for your clarity and understanding. So government's response to the mass exodus on affidavit to Supreme Court of India in response to petitions that migrant workers need to be provided for during lockdown says that the only culprit for the loss of life and hardship of migrant workers is simply fake news. Government said that because of this fake news, people started moving from one place to another. There was a fake news going on that the lockdown is going to last for 3 months and not 3 weeks, and this is the reason why migrant workers started their exodus. But the big question is what government was doing. See, it is a clear failure of government's communication strategy and communication as well, right? You have to be very clear in your words, particularly when you are government, right? Your statements should include each and everyone. We can give this benefit of doubt to government that this was the first time that government was, or any government in the world is going through this sort of lockdowns, but we should have this common knowledge or common understanding, this common sensibility that if poor people, we know, like we have 90% of people in our country, they are working in informal sector, and then we have this migrant laborers as well in our country, somewhere around I would say we have more than crores, right? I think we have somewhere around 6 crore or something. Not sure about the right figure at present, I'm sorry about that, but we have crores of migrant workers, domestic migrants, right? They are working in various different states, and the reason why they started heading towards their home is because this fake news was going on, and the fake news was going on because there was no clarity from government. So we should have learned something from foreign governments. There are a few countries, they went ahead with the lockdown before us. So what we learned from them, have we learned anything from them? This is a big question that we need to ask as well, right? That government should ask itself. And one more thing is that if false information circulated on social media is dangerous because it can trigger action, misleading statements or lack of clarity in government messaging is even more dangerous given the credibility of the sources. Because if fake news is creating damage, then yes, the damage created by lack of clarity by government statement is more dangerous, because you will rely more. If something you read on PIB website, you will take it as a truth rather than things that you read on FB. So government has to be a bit more clear, as well as precise, as well as the thing should come as early as possible from government, right? Moving on to next item, and this one is going to be our last article of the day: COVID-19 and the crumbling world order. Now, a good thing about COVID-19, yes, I'm saying good thing, is that this mask that was there on the face of this global institution or institutions, now that mask is gone. United Nations. United Nations was created so that we don't see that the world has not witnessed a World War III. But we have seen consistently United Nations has failed. United Nations Security Council. 5 countries are controlling the whole world. Earlier on, remember, I think it was on Saturday or Friday, we were discussing about this peacekeeping force, how we can deploy peacekeeping force in various different parts of this world. United Nations Security Council can do it, but they are not doing it. They are still indulging in small petty fights with each other, particularly USA and China. COVID-19 will fundamentally transform the world as we know it, the world order, the balance of power, traditional conceptions of national security, and future of globalization. At present, humanity is in an uncharted waters. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. After lockdown, if we have a world after lockdown, then of course there is going to be a new political order as well as social realities. I was talking to you about this. I told you about this thing. We were talking about this thing. Remember that a time will come now that people will demand more emergency services. People will not tolerate lack of health facilities in countries like India. Even though if we don't have money, then people will argue this thing that don't spend money after unnecessary things. We need medical facilities, we need clean drinking water, we need protection from this sort of lockdowns and other things, right? So this can happen. I think this can happen, right? This is my opinion that this can happen. Institutions created after World War II, like for example United Nations and World Bank, and there are other IMF, etc., right? They were designed not to serve humanity, right? These institutions, if you go through their history, this whole working history from inception till now, then you find that they have acted more for few countries, for developed countries, for Western world, It looks like they have always worked to cater this Western world, to make it a bit more strong, isn't it? Rather than working for humanity. SARC has also failed. SARC came out with this big ideals. European Union is also in a big trouble. Do you know this thing that after this Brexit, I'm sure you know about Brexit, right? But I'm not sure how many of you are aware about this Italixit. That is, Italy, right, is also thinking. Italy is thinking to leave European Union. Do you know this thing? Italy is not happy about the support that it got from European Union. Germany as well is facing, France is going through tough times, and there are other European countries. So there are chances like Italy will leave. So European Union as well, if you go through their website, you will find that they are talking about big things, like they will do cooperation and help each other and other things. But when it comes to reality, they have failed. This sort of institutions have failed. The other thing is China. China has, unlocked Hubei. It has, I think, unlocked Wuhan as well. Right, yes, Wuhan is unlocked. After 78 or 79 days lockdown, Wuhan is open now. And China has started manufacturing as well. And if you go through some financial news, like daily financial news analysis, then this big news we have discussed that China is in fact taking over Indian markets. Now, because manufacturing is on in China, it is supplying things to various different countries. So China can become a big leader. There are so many countries, they are praising China now. They think like China has done everything right. So China has this capacity to fight coronavirus, and US has clearly failed. So, as I told you, balance of power can also change. COVID-19 can accelerate hyper-nationalism. People will opt for buying more local things. Hyper-nationalism, like country first, forget about globalization and global cooperation. Look after your own back, and this sort of ideology will get fuel. Former National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon warns that we are headed for a poorer, meaner and smaller world. State intervention in economic matters and protectionism will go up as well. License Raj can come back. Government will ask you what to produce and how much to produce, right? Giving you this excuse or reason for this sort of future emergency services. Government can ask you to produce this sort of things, like government will ask you to produce let's say medicines, more medicines or less medicines, produce this medicines only and not that medicine. So license Raj can come back. And Western states, right, they did the same thing, and we find something similar in other countries. Like when this sort of emergencies, when they are out, government will try to protect big companies, right? In Western world, rather than supporting public health, first of all, support was provided to capital markets and big companies. We will see new age of racism as well. People will. I'll give you one example of Sunday news. I was going through BBC News, and I came across this news item that people from Africa who are living in China, they are thrown out at present. They are, no one is providing them hotels to live and houses to live, because there is this hate going on. There are people in few parts in China, they believe that this virus is because of this people from Africa. So this is just one example. We talked about our country, India. Some people were mistreating people from Northeast, and they were blaming them for this virus and things. So racism, this thing our Indian people living in different parts of the world, they may feel this sort of, they may become victim of this racism. Like various different people in various different countries, they may think that it is the foreigners who are bringing various different diseases into their country. So, things are going to be a bit different, and new questions are likely to be asked about the source of your goods. If item is coming from China, then we don't want it. If item is coming from a country that is not following hygiene standards, then we don't want it. I'm just giving examples, right? I'm not saying that India does not want items from China. I'm just giving you one example. Then we may find this sort of things. News. Bracing for a rapid surge in cases. The government said that it is well prepared, and cases are going up. We have crossed the 9,000 mark on Sunday. 686 new cases on 12th April. 11 held for chopping off a policeman's hand. A very, very sad incident coming from Punjab, right? You have this group of Nihangs. They are like, they carry knife and this sword with them. So they were stopped, and if you go through the video is viral now. They misbehaved, and they have no care for rules and regulations, and a few guys came out with a sword and they chopped hand of a police person who was working there. The latest news is that a surgery was conducted and the hand is fixed now, but within 4-5 days we will know the health of this gentleman here, Sub-Inspector Harjit Singh. And I pray for Harjit Singh and his family members, right? And I want you guys as well to pray for his early recovery. Let's hope that he will live a normal life after this incident, and hats off to his bravery, as well as this sort of soldiers and this sort of police personnel who are out there, who are protecting our nation. A pandemic impact, Rafale deal, or the first batch of, not deal, but the first batch of Rafale get delayed because of lack of production in France. Lockdown is going on in France. India is having a discussion with USA over visa sanctions. And then we have this good positive story from a male nurse, Rajesh Aswara. He is sharing his experience. He is saying that the bottom line is that you should remove fear from our mind and don't lose confidence. And he also said this thing, that it is very important for people working across the world in medical field. Like if you are treating someone with coronavirus, then you need to have this PPE kit. Enough grains for 9 months has been said by our Minister Paswan. And Chinese bank picks up 1% stake in HDFC. People's Bank of China has invested or has picked up or purchased a 1% plus 1.01% stake in HDFC Bank. And that's everything in today's discussion. These are your 2 more questions. And I will see you soon with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Stick your answer in the comment section. Jai Hind.